You to our regular commission meeting for tonight, June 24th. And if I would please ask you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alrighty, the first item on this evening's agenda is to consider the meeting minutes of the June 10th meeting.
I'd move for approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Same sign. That motion carries. The next item this evening is to consider a proclamation declaring July 4th through 6th as NMAAC Men's Fast Pitch Softball Tournament Weekend. We're going to have Cameron Becker and Stan Estrada. If you'd come up.
All right. On behalf of the Newton Mexican American Athletic Club, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. It is a true honor to stand before you and speak about something that means so much to our families, our players, and our entire community. For 77 years, this tournament has been more than a weekend of softball. It's been a tradition rooted in resilience, pride, and unity. What began in 1946 as an opportunity for young Mexican American athletes to compete and connect has grown into one of the largest running events of its kind in the country. Through every inning, every generation, and every summer, we have held tight to what the tournament represents: family, culture, and belonging. To be recognized by the City of Newton with an official proclamation is more than a gesture. It is meaningful, and it tells our young people that their history matters, and it tells our elders that their efforts are not forgotten. And it tells all of us that our contributions as athletes, organizers, and community members are seen and valued. We know this recognition is not only about the past, but it also about what we continue to build today. This event brings people together, it celebrates heritage and identity, and it strengthens the ties that make Newton a special place for so many of us. Being part of the city's official record is an achievement we hold in the highest regard. It connects our story to the broader story of Newton, and for that we are deeply grateful. So we thank you for honoring Newton Mexican American Athletic Club and the 77th Annual Men's Fast Pitch Softball Tournament, and we look forward to carrying this legacy forward with pride and with the support of the city.
Awesome.
The proclamation states, whereas Newton Mexican American Athletic Club has proudly hosted the annual Men's Fast Pitch Softball Tournament since its founding in 1946, making this year the 77th celebration of the proud and enduring tradition. And whereas the tournament welcomes fast pitch teams from across the Midwest to Newton's athletic, Washington, and Centennial Parks, transforming the city into a hub of competition, community pride, and festive energy that includes food vendors, 50-50 raffles, a watermelon feed, and the beloved Old Timers game, and a vibrant atmosphere for families and fans. And whereas Newton Mexican American Athletic Club has preserved and grown the tournament into one of the longest running cultural and athletic events of its kind in the United States, honoring its founder's vision by celebrating Mexican American heritage, athletic excellence, and integrational unity. And whereas the event continues to create a meaningful and lasting impact on the Newton community by fostering youth involvement, recognizing longtime supporters, awarding scholarships, and hosting family-friendly programming alongside health and safety outreach. And whereas the City of Newton recognizes that the Newton Mexican American Athletic Club for its leadership and for preserving history, uplifting local culture, and uniting residents and visitors in a shared tradition of excellence, pride, and celebration.
Now, therefore, I, Rich Stinnett, Mayor of the City of Newton, Kansas, do hereby proclaim July 4th through July 6th of 2025 as NMAAC's Men's Fast Pitch Softball Tournament Weekend, and call upon the people of Newton to join their fellow citizens across the United States in recognizing and participating in this special observance. I would call for a motion to approve.
I would move for approval of this resolution.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Proclamation.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second.
A second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Sorry.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Well done.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Awesome. Thank you.
thank you. Next item this evening is the library's 2026 budget presentation. Director Cusick?
Good evening. I'm Carrie Cusick. I'm the Executive Director of Newton Public Library, and I'm glad to be here tonight. Before I dive into our budget, which is pretty straightforward, I do want to say I hope that you have looked at your 2024 annual library report. We had a thing or two happen last year, one or two, so a lot of interesting information. If you've looked at that, you know with the new library, we've seen a lot of increased usage, a lot of growth. If you look at the first 9 months in the new library, the number of people coming in the door almost doubled. Year over year, circulation is up 18%. Children's program attendance is up 48%, and that's still with one staffer doing all that. So it's a really exciting time to be at the library. This morning, I ran some quick numbers for 2025 so far. What does a day look like at the library? So in an average day that the library is open, we will see 298 people come in the door. We will check out 398 physical items. We'll check out another 159 digital items in our online collection. We'll see 36 people using a computer, 18 children every day average attending a library event, and 7 people booking a study room. Another little underappreciated gem in the new library is our meeting room. As you know, we have 2 meeting rooms in the new library. One of them is primarily used for our youth activities. But the interest room, you know, it supports all of our programs and our events. It supports the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, which runs every spring. But we also make that available to community groups and organizations in our community. So in May, we were open 26 days. I went back and counted. We had 14 different outside groups come in and use that facility. I think you all were actually one of them in May. But what's really exciting and unexpected is we're seeing, because it's such an inviting space, Newton is conveniently located, we're seeing regional meetings start to occur at our library. Organizations, even state-level organizations, are having meetings. That means people are coming to Newton simply because we have a fantastic meeting room that we offer them free of charge. A lot of those groups end up using local providers for their meals, for catering, things like that. So it's kind of a hidden gem, an under-the-radar workhorse that I just want to highlight that is a wonderful advantage of the new facility that we have. I also want to take a moment. I'm congested, so hang on. I also want to share something briefly that I'm very excited about because it has been on my mind for at least 3 years, and I've been here 4.5. You know, we see a lot of people who come in the library who have a lot of needs that extend beyond a library need and really go into that social service realm. So we've been talking about it for a couple years, but we have formalized a partnership with United Way of Harvey and Marion counties and NMC Health. And together, our 3 entities are hiring a resource navigator, which is essentially a community-based social worker. So they will be employed by United Way, but they will be based at the library roughly 15 to 20 hours a week, plus also out in the community. That gives us somebody that we can direct people to who have those advanced social service needs that we, as librarians, simply aren't equipped to meet. United Way can refer people to them. The hospital can refer people who are outside of the scope of their social workers because they're no longer in the hospital. It's a really exciting initiative. We actually just hired someone last week. They will start July 1. So fun, innovative, cool, good thing that is happening, and I think evident of the type of partnerships that we look to build in our community as well. So with that, the purpose that I'm here, the budget, pull that muck over here. There are a lot of columns, so some of them are more obvious than others. If you look, the column that says tax levy on the left, that's pretty straightforward. That's our property tax levy income. That is the bulk of where library funding comes from. That next column over, SCKLS, that's South Central Kansas Library System. Kansas has a regional library system set up across the state, and we receive a grant and aid from them every year, plus sometimes additional grant funding as well. The state aid column is a grant from the State Library of Kansas. That's an ever shrinking and potentially disappearing line item that we track. Then there's the senior mill column. That's funding from the Harvey County Senior Mill Levy, which is used exclusively to purchase large print materials that support our in-light home delivery service and then are made available to the general public as well. And that last column of library income, that's kind of our catch-all column. So that's where donations go. If someone pays for a damaged book, it goes there. To our interest goes the money that we get from our endowments in our foundation. All of that goes into library income. And then it's difficult to budget because we don't know, how many donations we're going to get. If we get more donations, we spend more donations. So that one's always it's a very fluid column, we'll say that. With that in mind, I'm not going to go down every line item. It is a pretty straightforward, stable budget. It represents a 5% increase in tax levy dollars, which is right in line with valuations. You can see on that far right in the green is the change. So you can see these numbers reflected as we go down. Some of our other income we think will go up a little. Some we think will go down a little. But overall pretty steady throughout the income category. On the expenditure side, again, not any huge changes. Now that we have been in the new library a year, we have a lot better prediction on utility costs. So that's why you'll see that number actually went down. We had no idea what the utility bills were going to run when we set last year's budget. Fortunately, they were less than we thought. So that is that decrease. Otherwise, modest increases throughout a little on the backside. We are trying to increase opportunities for our full-time staff for professional development for conferences and the like, just because we want to continue to be an innovative and exciting library. One thing I will note, because it might be confusing, as you know, we have an agreement with the city where the library is making $65,000 a year payments toward the costs of the new library starting this year for 20 years. And you will see $35,000 on here. And the reason is last year the library sort of prepaid pledges that were still coming in as part of the fundraising campaign. And some of those pledges are now arriving in the foundation. So we will pay the balance out of those funds and $35,000 out of the budgeted funds. So when you see that, we know how much the payment is supposed to be, but that's why only a part of it is reflected here. I think that's it. Again, we're seeing what everyone is seeing. Some general inflation. Cost of books is going up. Cost of postage is going up. Health insurance costs are probably going to go up. But again, nothing dramatic, nothing particularly unusual. So with that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Pretty clean.
Yep.
Any questions for?
I don't have any.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item this evening is to consider a request from Roy Foster to appeal the Historic Preservation Commission's decision of not allowing demolition of a house located at 309 East 5th Street. Rebecca?
Yeah, I'll get it started off, and then the applicant is here. At the May 5th, 2025 meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission, there is a request to review this building, this home at 309 East 5th, for demolition. It's currently owned by the Federal Home Loan Program, and per the representative's application, the cost of repairs to meet the federal standards are higher than the cost of demolition. Due to state law, as you may remember, any proposal that would damage or destroy a historic resource must be denied. This property is considered a historic resource to the district as a whole, the McKinley Residential District. The commissioners at that meeting voted unanimously to deny the application on the basis of state law, and then directed staff to reach out to the property owner representative to see if there was any way to have the property listed on the open market as is. As it has occurred in the past, there's an option to appeal the decision of the Historic Preservation Commission to the City Commission, which has occurred, as you see tonight. The City Commission then can override the decision of the Historic Preservation Commission, and then the State Historic Preservation Office has 30 days to comment on this body's decision before a demolition permit could be obtained. So that's where we are in the process. The map here on your screen shows you where the parcel and the home in question is, and then this is a photo of the exterior, and I can turn it over to the applicant.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you for allowing us.
Can you move to the microphone, please? There you go.
Thank you for allowing us to present to you our argument in a review of the property. Federal Home Loan Mortgage Corporation's mission is, of course, to provide housing to occupant buyers. Unfortunately, this is not the case that can be done for this particular example. Structurally, it has failed. There is asbestos-contained material at the exterior and at the interior. Structural failure of the basement is still moving because of these rains, and we have water in the basement. Now, this is the approved contractor on the national basis for Freddie Mac, who has maintained this property over the past 7 to 8 months. In maintaining the property and make sure that it is not an unkept property to violate any codes. Freddie Mac has spent tens of thousands of dollars to clean up the property and maintain it on a monthly basis. I have some new photos as young as 4 days that shows the water and some of the additional items that you've had before you. But I say we, Freddie Mac cannot market this property in its present condition. It provides too much risk and liability, even for an investor to take on with proper disclosures. And this isn't the way that Freddie Mac does business. They can't sell it, we'll sell the lot. So the end goal is to take out both the garage and the house, 2-story, and it's a centenarian in 1910, so that we can provide, get rid of an unsafe structure and provide a lot that perhaps the neighbor who has the house up for sale next door will have a buyer wanting this lot, or someone will want to build on it. But that's essentially the short of it. We had approximately $60,000 to demo it and take out the asbestos material. And the bids came up almost to $320,000 to take it down, to bear and build it back up. And the market does not support that particular example. So if you have some questions, we'd be able to field those for you tonight. The state will be involved with the ACM removal. We have a licensed certified contractor in Wichita who will be doing that. The utility companies tell us they will be able to go over in the middle of the month and take all of the meters out in preparation for the demolition. So when your decision is made here, if we're granted that dispensation, then we'll work with the state to make sure that everything is done according to the regulations. But it's an unsafe structure. And that's the decision that many people at Freddie Mac and their downline vendors agreed that it just isn't something that we can restore.
So just to clarify, you said that 320,000 number is to do whatever needs to be done to that house to bring it up to standard.
That was the estimate, yes. And you can build a new one, probably a lot less,
Well,
but in
but
that area.
especially in that neighborhood, that probably doesn't make sense.
I know. There's some things we can't control, and housing is one, markets are another. Matt has 22 years in the preservation and licensed general contracting. This is my third decade. I have 35 years working for the VA and Freddie Mac. And I also, too, had a contracting license during the 70s and 80s. So we're not here to try and pull any wool over your eyes. We're just coming to you to make sure that you have all the information on the table to make an informed decision in our request.
So I guess my question is Freddie Mac prohibited from selling that property as is with disclosures?
Internally, yes.
But
They will not absorb the risk liability the way it stands. Every property, and I've done about 1,000 of these, and we've had 2 or 3 that had the asbestos and was in really sad shape. We made it safe, and then we demoed. That's the standard that we use, and we follow all of the governmental regulations in doing so, because we're not happy, actually. I get paid once a sale occurs. If it's not a big sale, it's not a big amount for me, but I've had mailbox money for 3 decades, so I'm not worried about that. It's just the fact. We can save some, but we can't save this one.
I guess the question from a Historic Preservation Committee and is maybe you can't save it, but maybe somebody else can. And I think that's the question that we have to weigh today.
Well, Freddie won't sell it the way that it is.
So what happens in those instances?
Well, honestly, from personal experience, this is the first one that I've had a second look in a historic area. It's a area. To my understanding, it's a non-contributing residential property in a historic area. And it's a stone's throw from the railroad tracks. So it's just not something that they do.
I guess I don't understand either, as I read this, that state law prohibits demoing it if any proposal that would damage or destroy a historic resource, yet it's considered non-contributing.
Well,
So how is that, and I don't know enough about how is that considered a historic resource in that area when it's non-contributing?
Great question. So the historic resource as a whole is the entire district. A contributing factor is just a additional qualification that allows that it's eligible for tax credits. But everything in the district makes up the district. That involves your streets and your roadways. You might remember this body had to look at redoing a road with brick to make sure it conformed. So while the road might not seem like it's a contributing factor, it's part of the whole district. So there's different levels to state preservation law and federal preservation law. Now, anytime a demolition is done, even if it's needed, you all saw an outbuilding that was just a stone's throw from the Workentine house that came to you for demolition. And from the case presented to you and from city staff, it seemed, and the recommendation from the Historic Preservation Commission was that it was past the point of reasonably being salvaged. And you will overturn, because they are required, the Historic Preservation Commission is required to deny the application. And they had encouraged the applicant to come and seek your override, and which you granted, and then they were granted the permission to build a new outbuilding. So that's the process from the historic preservation side. The piece that's different in this case is that we don't have other history in our own organization that we've been out to the property and seen the issue, just because we haven't had the interaction. We don't have those pieces in our documentation. And then we had a different request from the Historic Preservation Commission about selling as is to an investor or something else. So it was just a little bit of different direction to staff and a slightly different piece than we've had in some of the previous ones. Does that help answer your question, Commissioner Valentine?
Thank you.
Does anyone live in this, on this property right now?
Not since 2020.
Not, oh, 23.
We were able
And
to make
it's-
some repairs to put on utilities to see what we really had.
Is this your property?
No, I am a real estate broker in my 35th
Okay.
year licensed by the Real Estate Commission. I work for VA and I work for Freddie Mac on their REO foreclosed properties. I am in charge of the field in the coordination of the preservation and repair and marketing. And Matt's here, and his portion is the actual preservation and general contracting for repairs, whether they be capital or whether they just be preservation. We know it's a difficult decision. The whole idea of having the preservation committee is to keep these properties and build them up and bring them back to their glory they once were. But those photos that are passed around are 4 days old. They'll show you the water in the basement. They'll show you how we've maintained it. You see this photo online here on the screen. That is what it was before Matt started taking care of it to bring it up to Freddie Mac's standards. So even if we're not going to repair it and we're going to demo it, we're going to make sure it looks the best on the block. We're not going to have city personnel worried about violations of high weeds. So we take good care of the properties. And from the last, not including your work, that would bring a total close to $25,000 worth of preservation work that we've done to cut all of the vegetation off, pick up all of the things that are inside, move all of the contents out, shore up. The wall downstairs has failed, and it's a post and beam connection, and it's shoving it over. So when Matt was there, he was able to put his finger in it. Now he can put 2 fingers in the horizontal crack of the wall that's broken on the inside.
And the demolition cost will be underwritten by Freddie Mac?
Yes, sir. There will be no cost to the city. Everything would be paid for permitting, and it would be to the inspection of the city. All the paperwork on the ACM removal goes to the state. They know who, what, when, why, and where. They know the quantity. After that's disposed, bagged and tagged, then they've got a record of that property.
And just as a note, if that were to occur and there would be the empty parcel and it would be one to be built on, it would need to conform to the McKinley District standards. We do have a couple new builds in there. So there would be some aesthetic items on there just for whomever purchased it and wanted to do an infill development.
Which generally means they have to have a similar look as the existing neighborhood.
Yes.
Yeah.
Does staff have any reason that we wouldn't want to demolish it?
Generally, we don't tend to make a determination. As the Historic Preservation Officer for the City of Newton, any loss of a historic resource is considered a loss to the integrity of your district. So that's always something to keep in mind. While it is a non-contributing resource and the new building would be another non-contributing resource, a resource can change its contribution status if it gets reevaluated. So if a private investor chose to purchase the property and maybe made all of the repairs, it might actually change to contributing status. So that's just something in the future that we can't control with a lot of variables. So any loss does, from that side of the house, present a loss. The other items just to keep in mind is then you have the struggle to do infill development, which can be an opportunity, but sometimes can be a challenging opportunity.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of things to take into effect. Empty buildings die fast. Non-occupied buildings, that easily become a fire hazard and put at risk other properties. I'd hate to see it go just because I'd like to have another chance, just not have a chance because of a bureaucratic decision that
It is very, very layered, like an onion.
as far as an empty lot, I mean, if it was given to the land bank, we might be able to market it a little bit faster and get somebody to build on it.
My understanding is the federal home loan would be the one selling the lot. Is
And
that
we
correct?
do have the availability of selling that to nonprofits and cities. It's just a different transaction.
And do you have information about how you price those lots usually?
It's the sales comparison approach. Broker price opinions have been utilized in lending for an alternative to appraisals. They have computer algorithms and now they have AI that will take the data from public sources and multiple list service, and they will come up with their own valuation within a range that they've been programmed to work on. But in this case, when I did pull comps, and I did look at it because we looked at it to be repaired, frankly, and the latest updated price opinion is the first. They have a second backup, and then when there is a disagreement between myself and my opinion of value and the second broker, then they will call the appraiser in, and he will settle the argument, and that will be the list price. But from memory, and this is going back two weeks, there are not a lot of comps for lots in the city in that neighborhood. So we had to go back years. And on a relative basis, you can adjust for time value of money. But we don't think that it's going to be a 5-figure sale of the lot based on the data that we have. Because there are two, no, there are three within a 3-block area going back 15 years. And there's a few in the outer half mile, but then the remainder in the high are into the Sand Creek development, okay? So it was one of those, I don't have enough data points, but it seemed to at least be within the realm of range with AI, because they do that as well to check all of those. And if you all were to buy that, then you could name your own price on it, so.
Say more about what that means. You mean if the land bank wanted to buy it and offered $5,000 for it, they would consider that?
And they would counter. They will, the policy is they set, I don't know what it is. They never tell me how low they'll go or what they'll start at. They have my opinion, they can take it or leave it. They have the alternate opinion, take it or leave it. They have the appraiser. So they have all of the stuff on the screen, the ratios, and it says that's the list price. And we look at that every 30 days. If we haven't had any activity, we reduce that. But that reduction comes from the home office. So in answer to your question, they will establish an ask price. And if the land bank doesn't want that, the land bank can offer whatever they want, and the principals can decide what it's going to be.
Well, I know from an investor standpoint, I've had houses quite like this, but I've had them in my past life as an investor, and I don't think there's any metrics that would make it worth as an investor to buy this and to put the kind of money that it would take to fix it up, and the cash flow with renting it out or whatever, not even close.
At one time, it had an upstairs rental unit because it was A and B with the electrical system. They shared one heat plant, and it went right through the middle in the existing masonry chimney that was made. But that's where some of the asbestos-containing material in the flue is, so we'll have to get that as well as the exterior siding.
What is this, like, you just need a motion to lay out if we would want to demolish this? What process do we
Do we
need here?
send it back? Do we overrule? What's the?
So what's the decision that staff would need from you tonight is whether you choose to appeal the Historic Preservation Commission's decision. If you do, from our past processes, that's just a simple motion. After that's done, I will draft a letter, and it will go to the State Historic Preservation Office, letting them know of your decision. They know of this project already. And then we just, as per our process, we wait 30 days, and if we hear nothing back, then your decision stands as the last item, and the applicant is granted the permission to demolish the building.
Okay.
So if that chooses to be your course of action.
But the state could turn around and say no.
The state does have final authority, but if they don't respond within that period of time, it's considered an acceptance.
Well, I will put forth a motion that we overturn the decision of the Planning Commission or the Historic.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? I guess my one question is, do we have minutes from the Historic Preservation meeting?
They're just, they're just draft minutes. They have not had a chance to meet again, so they're not approved minutes.
So they wouldn't go out before that commission gets to see them.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Nope.
I have a question. If anybody from the city wanted to have a look-see in the house. Because we would make arrangements for an escort walkthrough if that was going to help determine the severity of what we're telling you.
Those
think that-
pictures were real telling.
I was going to say, pictures are good enough for me.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Same sign. Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Well, I will follow up with you
Yes.
for the next level.
Yes, we will continue to work forward on this. Thank you very
good.
much.
Thank you so much.
All right, next item this evening is fireworks. Chris?
Yeah, I can tee this up, but Chief can fill in any gaps or answer any technical questions. 2 ordinances for your consideration pertaining to fireworks. These are in response to Senate Bill 199, which allows permanent retailers to sell fireworks year-round and also expands the dates for seasonal retailers, as well as guidance from the State Fire Marshal's Office. The first ordinance amends the 2024 International Fire Code, which was just recently adopted by the City Commission. It distinguishes between permanent and seasonal fireworks retailers and also common fireworks and display works, fireworks Class C. It does prohibit year-round permanent sales within the city of Newton. The second ordinance pertains to public displays and sets forth the requirements for permits. The first ordinance would be subject to approval from the State Fire Marshal. We do not see the second requirement or the second ordinance needing that approval. So I would stand for any questions on this. There's a red line in your packet. It started where the edits start, where the edits in the ordinance started. So that's why it was a partial in the red line if you were tracking. It would be separate motions to approve the 2 ordinances, but we would stand for any questions.
So we have fireworks that we sell out of a fireworks stand.
Call those seasonal.
They're called seasonal. And can you walk me through like a scenario for those versus the other?
Yeah, I should have mentioned that your previous ordinance, this probably, I don't know if it's directly responsive, your previous ordinance that sets forth the days for discharge and sale is unaffected by this. I think that was included in the motion. A seasonal is locked into those dates in June and July. A year-round permanent can be year-round, but you need state approval, and then you would need a city permit, which we're essentially foreclosing on by saying we would not issue one in the city. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
It's more for permanent. I think this bill started, year-round sales were allowed in Missouri, and then I believe that a community somewhere close to Missouri, wanted that equality to provide some function to sell year-round.
So say we wanted to have a fireworks display outside of the seasonal. Is there anything in here that would make that hard to do?
The display, and I might defer to Chief, in the second ordinance talking about displays, I believe those can be outside of the window of the discharge.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
it's a special permitting that would need to take place. They would file for a permit to the State Fire Marshal's Office as well as to the city for
Okay.
a display. So like sporting events and the like.
But those don't come before this body?
No, those are approved. The applications come to the city clerk, and then they go to the fire marshal here, who is in contact. They have to go through a whole thing of going through the fallout area, defining all that. And so we just had that with the Sand Creek Summer Days, was a public permit that was just allowed.
Okay.
Yeah, can you let me know next time? My phone was blowing up.
Oh,
You should have come out and watched, Rich.
It was past my bedtime.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Okay.
Any further discussion? I'd call for a motion for
Here's-
ordinance.
Here's an ordinance number for the first one, which would be 5168-25.
I move we approve 5168-25.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Same sign. That motion carries. Next ordinance.
5169-25.
I'd move for approval of 5169-25.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'm sorry.
Calling for a second to Rod's motion for the other ordinance.
Did you second it?
Second.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. That motion carries. Thank you. Next item this evening is to consider a demolition reimbursement agreement with BNSF Railway Company.
And city staff would ask that you table this item to the next city commission meeting in a couple weeks.
So I call for a motion to table this item.
I move that we table item number 6.
I
And-
second.
And friendly modification, we're going to put a timeline for it to return to this body.
We intend to bring it back at the next meeting.
2 weeks.
Awesome. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. Alrighty. Next item, Chris and Ed are going to give us a review of the 2024 building code updates.
And I think I'll just tee it up, but there's multiple members of staff that may jump in. This is a discussion item. It's not an action item. As you know, staff's been working on this for some time. These are the uniform code revisions. It includes the International Building Code, the International Mechanical Code, the International Existing Building Code. We also have an ordinance pertaining to the International Residential Code, which we're currently in the 2018 version. We're not updating that at this time. We're still working on that and seeing some other adoptions on it. We will come back with that one, but it was included with another code, so the ordinance serves to kind of pull that out so we can update it separately. These are uniform codes that are on a 3-year cycle that are put out. They have specific local amendments that fit Newton. Many eyes, many hands on staff worked on this and created what were determined to be fair and worked locally, but it has the backbone of a standard modified code. At this point, we're looking for any comments that you see. We will send this to the state fire marshal because obviously any item that deals with a modification to any of those fire regulations does require that approval. But really, you have the red line, you have the new codes. It's hard to encapsulate all those changes because obviously if we go from, say, the 2021 or the 2018 version, obviously anything in that book is going to be a change, plus the local amendments that we make on top of them. But we have staff here that can answer any questions on obviously any of the specifics. But again, we don't need action tonight, just feedback. Look to bring this back to you soon, and then the IRC as well, but we can, happy to look at or implement any changes that you have suggestions.
Do we have a board for this?
Say,
Do we have a board or something for this?
so for appeals, and this is now going to go through the Planning Commission or the Board of Zoning Appeals. For any variance.
All I know is I am
exceptions.
not an expert on this stuff.
We used to have a board that went through every one of that had like the electrical code, all of those codes, and we're going to be disbanding this and bringing it all under the Public Appeals Board.
Yeah,
and
the benefit of that was it was expertise. The problem was it was tough to fill those spots.
Right.
I think.
So
I guess my question is, across all of this, what is going to make our community safer? So are there any like drastic changes in here that is going to increase safety, be it in a commercial building or in a residential deal? And what's going to, what could negatively impact homeowners, or what could negatively impact development that should be bubbled up to the top right now?
I'll let staff speak to that, but I would say that I think it's best practice to follow, obviously, the current codes and those trends, and then for you to look at any of those specific amendments that deviate from those codes. But I mean, each one speaks for itself in terms of safety and development and everything else. Does that answer your question? No,
No,
not at all.
all your answer.
Maybe David could.
I would like that. So many people worked on this. I'd like to defer. David is our subject matter expert. Steve, I would call him our SME. Andy's not here, but maybe he could speak on behalf of the fire updates. David, if you could say something. Ed, please feel free to jump in. I'll jump in after.
And there's like unintended consequences sometimes when we just rubber stamp, yep, we're going to take these new, and now all of a sudden we got something that's not going to allow us to put apartments on second story in our downtown like we had planned on doing. And that's what I'm trying to avoid and understand is what are these potential unintended consequences that are going to.
None of the go ahead. So none of the codes that we're currently looking to adopt is going to change anything as far as what's allowable above anything downtown. Every 3 years, the code council goes through the codes. They look at things that may or may not be good enough. The products that they thought were good, then they're going to take them out now. So I do believe that staying with the current code is going to make our community safer. I mean, you're going to have more safety standards. With this code adoption, actually, some things are becoming easier. Used to be that you had to sprinkler a storage unit. Well, they've taken that out now. So that just because people didn't want to build storage units because of it. So I don't think it's going to change any development for the city.
I would add too, this puts us more in line with Wichita, of how they're well, we constantly get that, when developers or builders come in. This would put us more in line with how Wichita does their side of things.
Chief.
I think by maintaining an up-to-date codes are adopted. It's not because a couple of folks sat in a garage somewhere on a Saturday night and figured out, well, this sounds like a good idea, we'll just try this. They're adopted, they're created, unfortunately, because catastrophic things have happened. And so it's a process of lessons learned, paying attention to history and then applying history to the current. So that's why a lot of the building methods, means, materials, all of those things are updated throughout code revisions. They learn what worked and what didn't work, sometimes at a very extreme cost. But to maintain that, so one of the big changes is we didn't have lithium batteries a few years back. Now they're everywhere, but while they're great, and they're a great tool, there are associated hazards with those. And so the new codes address those types of things. Just the different technological advances that happen in the blink of an eye, the textbooks can't keep up. So by having subject matter experts that are reviewing these codes and all of these boards reviewing codes and keeping them up to date, it is not in any way a means of making someone's life more difficult or miserable. It's the exact opposite. It's designed to protect communities and members of those communities and visitors, and to have a safer place to go and visit.
Right. So in any of this, is there anything where we chose not to take that code at its initial language and we chose to modify it to better suit our community?
Each of those amendments, there's deletions and amendments, and they're included in each ordinance. So, and it's
That's the red line.
it's a red line, and it's also included right in the ordinance. you'll see the amendments and then the deletions. It gives you the title. So obviously these relate to a bigger book. You can go click on the link, go to see the original code, and then see how staff's amended it.
Yeah. The link didn't work, but that's okay.
I'm sorry.
I fixed it. So,
Rich, I might add something, and I know this is maybe a reiteration of what you have in your packets, but I think it's important to point out, I don't know that we've mentioned it. I know Justin, Chief, Andy, Ed, they all worked on this, but adopting the codes, you asked a question, why are we adopting these codes? Adopting the codes is essential for maintaining compliance. I mean, we just need to make sure that we're keeping up, number one. Number two, making sure that we're staying safe, that we're promoting safety and fostering development within our community. We believe these two to do that. We've also heard from our community that this is something they've been wanting, updated codes for many years. I think we have someone here who, she can tell you firsthand that this is, we've been working on this and it's time to do it. From a fire point standpoint, ISO compliance, adoption of the latest I code is crucial. Of the ISO code is crucial to maintain our community's compliance with ISO's required 5-year code cycle. Also, addressing modern challenges. I know we have not had an IEBC before, and now we're looking at adopting an existing building code. That existing building code would allow us to be more flexible for remodeling existing buildings. I don't know to what extent. I don't know that technical expertise, and we can definitely bring more experts into the room when we dig deep into this, as this is the first read. So please, we will be more than happy to take more questions and have more deeper discussion at the next commission meeting. But it is, the IEBC acknowledges some existing elements that may not meet all new code requirements. So it allows us to have more adaptive reuse and revitalization of a lot of our buildings downtown. I know that Chief mentioned this before, but I think it's really important. We are constantly compared to Wichita. And when I say constantly, I mean in every aspect of what we do. And I think it's important that we try to align ourselves with them because we are in the Wichita metro market. The consistency in doing that is beneficial because the same contractors that work in Wichita work here, and it would behoove us to say, hey, we are right in line with what Wichita's doing. Come build in our community. Also, the developer is confident and familiar with everything that comes with building in our community. I mean, it streamlines it. Let's see, I'm just trying to pick some major items.
well, okay.
Go ahead.
So we'll talk about 804.5.1.2.2.
Which code are we in?
IEBC, page 13 of 20. So if I go out to IEBC, it is 4 sentences for that section with regards to fire escapes and everything. And what I'm hearing is our team has said that's not enough for our community. We need it to be more well-defined.
If there's an amendment, exactly. Staff's looked at it and said that uniform language is not a fit for Newton. We want to amend it. And I would defer to staff on that. I didn't hear which number you said, but
It's construction on 13 of 20 on IEBC, page 13 of 20. .5.1.2.2, construction.
Oh, the fire escape edition.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So in my world, the red line would have started where the changes to that started, not at the beginning of that paragraph.
So what we tried to do was, and we can definitely, if I'm tracking, what we can do is provide you with the text of the 804.11 or whatever it is as published, and then our amendment side by side. We're happy to provide that. Is that what you're asking
Side by
for?
side, or leave the original language. If you're just adding,
and mark it out.
if you're just adding the 22 lines afterwards.
Got it.
And not changing any of the first 5 lines, then leave the first 5 lines black.
I understand. For the final version, it'll have to look like that. It'll have to be what the new code's going to say.
For the final,
Yeah, for sure.
But if I'm expected to see what we've changed,
Got
this is telling me we've changed everything.
Understood.
And this one did change a lot, so this
Yeah.
one we aligned with the city of Wichita, so their fire marshal, I do believe, weighed in on what he thought the fire escape should look like. We agree that what they put in there is a safe alternative to just what the original code said. They went into more into depth.
But this isn't gonna make any current ones have to change or come up to code. This is
So
only.
every code book at the very first section of the code book says you cannot make someone change something that is in place at the time of the adoption of the code. So until they start doing construction on the building, everything is allowed to remain existing non-conforming until construction starts.
Mm-hmm. And do we have a carve out that says it's a certain percentage of construction, or they have to touch that area before it has to be brought up, or
So
would we be in an
I do
unfortunate
believe it's-
situation where we're working on the front end of the building, and because we pulled that permit, now that has to get fixed as well?
So generally, that point reaches about 50% of the building itself. So once you touch 50% of the building, then you need to start coming to today's code. Then you'll have to bring the whole building up to today's code. So if they were just, say, downtown, if they were just to put the apartments upstairs, they wouldn't be required to make any changes downstairs, other than possibly some fire life safety stuff.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Got a lot of reading to do.
How about, would love for you to go through this first read. Be prepared with those more specific questions. We can work on getting a red line to show you the actual, the original with the changes. And we will bring additional staff who couldn't be here tonight, who are our experts, who actually work in this every day, in addition to David.
Yeah, and if you could just throw a note in that Word document or whatever, a note bubble that says, hey, we align this with Wichita because of this or whatever,
Gotcha.
and just get ahead of that.
Some context for
Some
the
context
change.
as to
Gotcha.
why the change was there. Because this is not my bailiwick, but if I'm going to read it all, y'all are going to suffer right there with me.
Right.
Anything else? Awesome. Thanks, everybody. I know it's a whole lot of work, and I'm going to rely on you guys. That's the next item on our agenda this evening is, and the last item will be our citizens forum. We have one person signed up, Mr. Myers.
Yes, I was here about 3 months ago, and my complaint was that I didn't feel that the animal control ordinances regarding to having animals in cages was being enforced. And at that time, I did talk to the chief, and the chief said that he might be interested in having some kind of pamphlet made up that would explain to the citizens what the requirements are. Is that in the process right now, Chief?
Yes, it is. In fact, I think it's off to the printers, so we can get that into the mailers very soon.
Good.
So,
Good. I did receive this in my water bill, and I really liked it, called Protecting Our Water from Waste, And I thought this would be a really good thing to put in a future water bill, explaining to the public what the regulations are relating to the laws of the state in our city ordinances. And these requirements, let's start with the statement in our state laws that animals need to be protected from the elements. So, for example, they got these temperatures right now going at 95 with high humidity, and there shouldn't be any animal in a cage that should be exposed to the sun. This animal, if it's going to be caged, it needs to be in a shaded environment. It's an abuse to put an animal in a 100-degree temperature without being exposed to shade. We need to make that clear. Also, when winter comes, the protection of the elements. When temperatures are extremely cold, an animal should not be exposed to these temperatures that we had this last winter. Last winter, I remember it got down to -6. Okay, there should be no animal in a cage exposed to that temperature. And I know of a number of cases where animals were put in cages that are left out in the cold, that the dog house was poorly insulated, and it was clearly a case of abuse. So that needs to be made clear. Another thing is that, and this is in our city ordinances as well as state, that animals must have potable water, and that the water must be clean, and should be cleaned daily. Another problem in the winter time, when temperatures get down below zero or below freezing, animals can't drink frozen water. So a requirement should be that an animal should have a heated water bowl in their cage when temperatures are prolonged periods of time when it's such that the water is frozen. So the only thing to remedy that is to have a heated water bowl, and that should be a requirement. Another thing is that we have people that have cages that do not have a concrete floor. And it is abuse to keep an animal in a cage on a dirt floor where the feces of the animal and the urine of the animal mixes with the water, with the rainwater, and produces a very filthy situation. And no animal should be exposed to that. So a requirement should be made that if you're going to put an animal in a cage, it has to have a concrete floor. So I hope we could also consider having a brochure similar to this, and based on the fact that what are the requirements that the citizens have to put an animal in a cage? What are the requirements? The public needs to know. And if they know, if they have been informed and they don't live up to what they're supposed to do, then they should be exposed to some type of fine. So I would like the city commission to consider this, having this another brochure in our water bill explaining what the requirements are to keep an animal in a cage. It's also good to have this brochure exposed to the Humane Society so people can know when they adopt an animal what the requirements are if they want to keep an animal in a cage. So I'm glad to hear, Chief, that you're doing this, and I hope it looks good. I'm looking forward to seeing it when you get it printed. Sure. And I hope that we can have greater enforcement of animals that are allowed to be put in cages. I feel that the animal control officer should be allowed to go to the property and investigate and walk in the person's back door and see what's going on. I know in my situation where I live, there's a person that had a dog that, well, I'll tell you, it was just an abusive situation all around, and this seemed like nothing was able to get done. But nevertheless, hopefully, greater enforcement by animal control is what I'm looking forward to seeing. And the laws of the state and laws of the ordinances of the city are clearly stated. We don't really need to change any laws. We just need to enforce them. Greater enforcement. And if we can do that, I think that members of our Humane Society here at Newton would be appreciative of that. And they have stories of people that they know that have abused animals, particularly animals that have been put in cages. So anyway, I appreciate you listening to me tonight, and consider doing this brochure in the next in a future water bill, that it will explain what is required if you're going to keep an animal in a cage.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We'll go around the horn. You have anything, comments? Brags?
I do not.
No? Sir?
No, sir.
No, sir.
I would like to let you know that we have 9 fireworks stands set up. They will start selling on the 27th, which is Friday, and they will be able to sell through the 5th, but you will see them going up, and they will be inspected on the 26th.
All right.
Just a quick shout out to the leadership team for all the work that they've done recently on budget, on this compensation plan, on adopting building code. I mean, all the things that have been presented before you go through hours and hours and hours of review, and it's only June, and I can see staff ready for vacation, so I appreciate them.
But I don't have anything. Yeah.
Thank you to staff, all of you.
Awesome. Thank you to everybody. Thank you, everyone, for coming out as well.